Hi everyone, Mia here, back again with more stories. I couldn't resist sitting outside today on this glorious day, so I hope you can see me properly. I'm probably a little bit overexposed, but anyway, here I am by the light, I mean. um, so I decided that today I'm going to share the story of meeting Clive and, where I was in my life, I suppose. So there's a background to that. I left my marriage in 2006, having been with my ex-husband for 12 years. And I think I spent a short period of time not in relationship, maybe 3 to 6 months. I can't even remember exactly. But I do know that there was a part of me always felt incomplete when I wasn't in a relationship. And in hindsight, I actually believe I was addicted to the first flushes of romance. So most of my relationships would last between 3 and 6 months. And after that period of time, I certainly wasn't ready to make a deeper commitment. Again, I wasn't really aware of that, but I also subconsciously choose people that weren't willing to commit either or weren't suited to being in long term relationships. And this became a pattern. And even though I was sort of aware of it, I would go 9 months then maybe on my own. And then there'd be a new romance, and I would get caught up in the excitement. And I would sometimes think, this is it, this is the one. And only to end up in that same place again, 3 to 6 months, and then, on my own again. And on it went for, I'm going to say, like 7 or 8 years, which seems crazy, but I was desperate to be with somebody, and I really felt that they were going to complete me. That this was the perfect thing, was to be in union. And I suppose I was always interested in sacred union as well, but I hadn't really explored it at that stage. Um, Now, I don't regret a minute of any of it. I met some wonderful people. I had some difficult, challenging experiences. I wonder how I kept putting myself out there again, but I did. And I don't regret it, because in every relationship, I grew a little bit and I started to understand myself a little bit more, despite being caught up in what I'm going to call an addiction, really. So fast forward to maybe 5 years ago, and 6 years ago, and I met somebody who was interested in the same thing as I was and was very aware, and I suppose was looking for something. Um, I won't say more serious, but certainly more present, that they were fully present to. And at this stage, I had a teacher, a Tantra teacher as well, who taught sacred sexuality. So I was very open to a relationship, um, on that level, I suppose, of being very present to one another and both wanting the same thing, and of spiritual growth through relationship. And that relationship did last a year. And, at the end of the year, I suppose there was a lot of hurt, there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of sadness, a lot of rawness. But there was also a knowing that it wasn't going to go any further. And shortly after that, somebody else came into my life for a brief time. And I knew that that relationship was out of integrity. Something didn't sit right inside me. And it was like I had this big wake up of, I can't do this. And I don't need somebody to complete me. And it took me such a long time to get to that place where I realized, I really don't need this. And it was so out of integrity that I was like spending time physically with somebody who I liked, very nice person, but they just weren't present to me. And I was so aware of that. And yet I still slept with them. I still spent time with them. So there was this amazing sort of wake up in me one day, and I just went, this isn't okay for me. Now, it was only a very short period of time I was with that person, but I was suddenly like, oh, this is not right for me. And I actually started working with the energy of the stag, which is for sexual integrity. And I made a decision that I was going to spend a year completely, totally, and utterly falling in love with myself, and just yeah, building up a relationship with me, getting to understand me, seeing what it is that I was really wanting, what was I searching for. And that was an incredible year. And it was like as if I put on blinkers or something and shut myself down. And I didn't even receive any male attention that year. I just kind of, it was just like I didn't, I won't say I didn't exist, but I was invisible in a way. And it was quite interesting to see how I could do that as well, make myself invisible. And yeah, it was just an amazing year. A lot of pain came up for me. I sat with a lot of stuff, a lot of discomfort. I really saw my habits and patterns. It was also the same year that I gave up sugar. So even that, I couldn't reach for any comfort foods or anything to suppress the feelings that I was having. So incredible period. And I came out of that with really, I suppose, a much richer relationship with myself, but also a clarity that I just wasn't willing to enter into a relationship again unless it was just so full of truth and honesty and integrity. And other than that, I was quite content to be on my own. So it was almost like, well, if this person appears in my life that is willing to have a relationship like that, well then yes. But otherwise, I'm good. I'm okay. So I did what I always do when I want to manifest something, because I did actually want a relationship. But as I say, I was quite content to be on my own as well. So I wrote a list of the qualities that I would like in the person that I would like to meet. And I even wrote in that list that I'd like him to be English, which is kind of, I don't know why, but I've always had a little thing for Englishmen anyway. So I wrote that down. And, amongst other things, I also wanted him to have a beard. But it was very clear on the things I was asking for, but they were mostly around values and the type of person that he would be. I also wrote an essay in the present tense, and I find this to be a fantastic manifestation exercise. So you're writing the essay as though it already exists. So I know I can't, don't, I'm sure it's there somewhere in a notebook, but I know that I wrote a scenario where he was coming home and I was sitting out the back in the sunshine, and that he came round and brought me round a drink, a coffee, and sat down beside me in the afternoon sun behind our beautiful home, etc., etc. But I wrote it as though it was happening. So shortly afterwards, just to kind of fill you in as well. So Clive and I were friends on Facebook, and I met him on Facebook through his sister, who also went to that same spiritual teacher that I mentioned earlier. So he had been noticing my posts and things like that. But shortly after I wrote this essay, he contacted me privately on Facebook, on Messenger, and asked me to help him with a meditation, which I thought was kind of amusing. And we entered into a conversation, and we were checking in, and we were meditating, doing the same meditation in the mornings, and then letting each other know how we got on, etc. And eventually that turned into Skyping, and that turned into meeting. He came over to Ireland, and then it transpired into what it is today. We fell in love, and we were always willing to go to that place of being in our truth. And this for me is really exciting, very challenging at times. As a woman, I suppose I feel a sense of that I'm the one that does a lot of the calling into new places. It's the language I'm going to use, where you call somebody to a new place. So that means you continually bring up the stuff that's challenging in the relationship. And but so far he's willing to go there with me, but it doesn't mean it's not painful. Sometimes living in absolute truth can feel, to the ego certainly, can feel quite excruciating. But the more we do it, the less ego there is in the relationship. So that's really refreshing. The other thing I wanted to mention is that all along, every relationship I had, rather than, being able to blame anybody for anything or any upset or, sadness I've had in my life, can really see that every one of them were a mirror. And I can see the same in Clive, that, whatever is upsetting me in the relationship or about him, that it's a mirror for something inside in me. And when I stop and take the time to see that, it's quite fascinating, because very often I don't have to draw anything to his attention, I can just work on it within me, and he will begin to mirror that as I change. And so we're mirrors for one another, and it's really important to see that. So if you're with somebody and there's aspects of them that you're not happy with, look at where that exists in you, because more than likely it does. Might not manifest in the same way. So when I explain that to people, I say, well, somebody could be, 50% of them insecure, let's put it that way. And you could be sort of a 50% insecure. And yours might show up as, I don't know, let's say jealousy. And, theirs might show up as a sort of a protectiveness of themselves, or in some other way that they don't open up, or so. But I can guarantee you underneath the levels are often pretty much the same. And my relationship advice is always this: if somebody is willing to journey with you, however difficult the journey is, then it's worth, it's worth stepping into, and it's worth going through the difficult bits. However, if somebody doesn't want to move forward in that journey and doesn't want to grow with you, then it's time to rock on and find somebody who does want to grow. So I don't know, entering into this marriage, is it going to be forever? What's it going to be? I know that right now I am so committed to love, and that Clive is the one for me to journey with, and that we're choosing to do this together, and we have the type of relationship where we can continually move into new places because we're willing to go there. We're willing to speak it out. We're willing to go through the difficult times. We're so honest with one another, and so straight up, and so clear. And that can take a few, I'm not saying all of the time that comes naturally. Sometimes I have to sit with something for a few days, and then I go, I'm gonna have to talk to him about it. I'm gonna have to tell him whatever it is, and vice versa. So it's not that it's instantaneous. But what I do want to say to you is, if you're calling for a divine relationship, put out that call and be really clear about what it is you're asking for and what it is you want. But first of all, come to the place of self-love, absolute self-love. I love myself so much today, and that's the love that I bring to the relationship. That feeling, I don't need Clive to fulfill anything in me or fill any gaps or any holes, because I can fill those myself, and he can fill his. But coming together from that place is absolutely amazing. And I know this video is a little bit longer, so I hope you had the staying power to stay with me. But I just thought it would be really nice to share with you how we came together. And I do believe there was divine intervention there, and I'm so grateful. Please subscribe if you're enjoying the videos. They're probably going to be a bit lighter in the next few days. I want to do some stuff around just skincare and things like that. So I look forward to seeing you again. Subscribe, like, share. Thank you, guys.